we are seeing the market try to rebound after that 300-point loss in the Dow on Friday. Now, it's such a big week for earnings. We have Apple after the bell today. We also have Facebook tomorrow, Google later on in the week, as well as Amazon. What are you looking forward to most with these earnings?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we got the one segment of the market which runs our lives, which was the financials. Now we've got the second segment, which is going to be social media and all the tools that we use to help us manage our lives. There's a few different things to look for, but I think the thread amongst all of these companies, with the exception of maybe Amazon, because their business model is a little bit different, is what are they doing in the mobile advertising space? That's clearly the case with Google and with Facebook, and you may start to see a little bit out of Apple with that news. On Apple, though, specifically what we really I want to hear are two things. Number one is, what are they doing with China mobility? There are reports that they're getting back to an average phone sale to the authorized providers of about $600 because the 5S is now outselling all their other models. When they first rolled out the 5C and 5S, people were still buying the iPhone 4 and 4S because they couldn't see a real discernible difference. Now that that inventory is cleared out, they're back to selling the higher price model. That's the first thing. How will China mobility help with that? Second thing is, what are they doing on a mobile payments platform, which there's talk of them rolling that out, and that will really start to compete with some of the other big providers in that space. And lastly, one that I think is going to be interesting on Apple is that if they don't announce a higher share buyback, expect to hear Carl Icahn come out right on the heels of their earnings report. So we might get Tim Cook talking and the CFO talking this afternoon, and then you'll hear Carl Icahn right behind him. I think we'll probably hear Carl Icahn anyway, no matter what they say about that.
Now, we also will be hearing from Facebook this week as well. And obviously, the last time we got their earnings, they did beat expectations, but we saw some weakness when it comes to those teenage users. And from the last time until now, we did see Facebook, they tried to buy Snapchat. It didn't work out. So is the big focus now, how are they going to gauge those users and how are they going to get those teenage users back?
I don't think they're all that concerned about getting the users back on the primary Facebook platform because I have a teenage son, and where he sits is on Instagram and some of the other places quickly. So as long as they have that business thriving and growing, I think they'll be satisfied with that. But the expectations for Facebook is that their continual users will still get up to about 1.2 billion people. I mean, think about that. It's roughly a sixth of the globe's population. So when you have that type of mass, that type of scale inside of it, they'll be able to push advertising out through those platforms. I also want to hear from Facebook what they're doing on the mobile platform. Their mobile usage has grown pretty dramatically. So as advertising comes back to the fore, advertisers are starting to feel a little bit more comfortable about spending money in that space. I think you'll hear that from Facebook. So again, I think they'll be able to capture a few different demographic segments based on whether it's Instagram or Facebook. As the kids are starting to call it now, they're starting to call it Fogey Book because guys like me are on it with my friends and family. But listen, if they've developed an environment where they can capture the large majority of the globe's population, they will just make money by default, particularly around the advertising. Advertisers cannot ignore it no matter what platform they're on.
And finally, we also will be hearing from Amazon and Google. Is there anything in particular out of those two companies that you're looking for as well?
Google, it's all going to be about mobile ad revenue as well. And also, I'm curious to hear about what they're doing with Motorola Mobility. Motorola Mobility did finally get out some really interesting products in the third quarter of 2013. Let's see how that's going to play into 2014 for earnings and what happened in the fourth quarter, of course. But also what I want to hear from Google is they are just buying up all kinds of interesting companies. They just recently also purchased an artificial intelligence company. So, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, they had this vast vision to improve the earth. I hope it's not a nefarious vision, by the way, but they're certainly going about it all the way from self-driving cars to contact lenses that can tell a diabetic if their blood glucose is too high or too low. It's really interesting technology, and that's why Google is trading over $1,000 a share and will probably go further. The other thing I'll say about Google as well as Apple is they tend to beat, Google's missed once, but they tend to beat analyst expectations pretty handily. So expect that no matter what you see is the average EPS for either of those companies, take that up quite a bit. In fact, the whisper number on Apple is well above the estimate. For Amazon, again, it's going to be about growth, expansion, revenue. Nobody expects them to they still won't be making money at the bottom line. But it's the expectation which drives that stock price, and that's what people expect. Jeff Bezos is a very smart guy and his team around him. And I've said this before, ultimately at the end of the day, I think there's probably going to be 4 companies that are going to drive the internet and win it. It's going to be Apple, Facebook, Google, and Amazon.